What's up, guys? So, we're going to start this off a little bit weird and a little bit early. I wanted to bring you guys along for this, so hang tight.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
What's up, guys? So, for those of you guys who are here already, go ahead, pull up the chat. Working on something behind me back here, and I got to run outside and get the level, and I'm going to grab a drink on the way through the kitchen, and I'll be right back. So just hang tight for a minute, and we'll continue. This is going to be interesting. What's up, Joseph? I'll be right back, guys. All right. So I guess y'all are wondering what's going on. Well, I'm going to show you what's going on. You already see right here. This is going to go on the wall. I'm trying to figure out where to put it exactly. But I'm also trying to prepare for it. And I wanted Y'all can't see nothing. Let me try getting on the other side here. I wanted, yeah, you still can't see nothing. But I wanted to get it in a position to where, well, it won't fall. Trying to do this. Yeah. I wanted it in a position to where you guys could see it on camera. So I needed to, that's pretty good, huh? Something over that way a little bit. So I need to go that way as far as I can. That's heavy. That sucker is heavy. What's happening is we're building. I know my head's up here. I want to keep the camera in that position though so that I can see what I'm doing back here on the wall. So, you know what? I could do it vertically right here. I think that's a winner. What do y'all think? If it goes down this way? Yeah. What's up, Bobby B? Corn Nut, Dubby, White Rambo, Joseph, everybody. Glad you guys could come. I know my audio is not perfect, but you see what I'm working on. That's the amp rack. I think after messing with it, I think it's going to go right here. So there's a stud right here. I need at least one stud besides me. You can't mount something without a stud. So, but I knew I was going to be in this for a bit tonight, and I've been trying to get the gumption up to do it. And so I said, you know what? Let's just do it in a live stream. So Friday night, yeah, I think that's going to work real good in that spot right there. I just got to figure out exactly where I want it and then get a screw started so that I can inject it in. Let's see here. Corn Nut, where are your priorities? I have no priorities. This is going to be cantankerous, wiggly, dangerous. It's going to be all the stuff. You know, the stuff that we're used to is car audio, guys. And when I let go of this, it's going to swing better. But we can get it hung anyway. So one of you guys want to hold this thing while I put screws in it? I'm going to try to keep my pants from falling down. I don't want to show you guys my backside. So, all right. This will be fun. I'm going to try to get it into position and make sure it looks like it's going to be cool on camera here. I think something like this would be good. And find my little dotted line there. Hold it, Bobby. Hold it for me, please. Hold on to it. I don't let it move. Shit. I don't know where Bobby is. one screw. What do you guys think about that? Cool, right? Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, I know. But I wanted to get it started. I could have come a little further this way, but W says, how many explodes we're installing today, Hoss? Oh, son. Uh, I just got the one over here, wherever he is. You can't see him. He's behind the chat. Um, I should do some explode stuff in here. That'd be pretty fun. Uh, I'm running this Ayanka amp. I haven't even heard this amp yet. Haven't even put it. I put power on it and the light came on. Everything, but I haven't heard it. Haven't heard this B2 DSP yet either. But I'm looking forward to it now because we're getting close. Because I had to get the rest of the components I needed. Hang on, I'll be right back. Jeez. Man, y'all are making me tired. We'll take a little break here. Got my level. Because if it ain't level, it ain't going to be right. I got it hung on the wall with one screw, guys. One. And it's not even in the middle. Oof. Jeez. Oh, man. What's up, El Fuego from the Pacific Northwest? How are you today, my fine friend? Whew. So, where did I put them? So I had to get some kit in. I had this stuff already. It's Hyanka, man. See, normally I'm sitting just about right here, so that's going to look pretty good. It's all going to light up too. That'll be nice. I had to get cable. El Fuego. To do from aux to RCAs. I have one of these somewhere. I have like several of them, but I couldn't find them. And I needed this other piece. These are the two pieces I needed to finish this before I could install it, because I'm going to have to uninstall my normal system and go to this. This little guy, it's got 4 RCAs, ins and outs, and it's basically a bass knob, but kind of fancy looking. Let's see if I can get it on camera. So it's got little feet, it can sit on a table, and it's going to sit. Y'all can't see it, but it's going to sit right up there in front of me where my amp is now, and allow me to turn the volume up and down with a physical knob. I'm a big fan of physical knobs, not digital controls and crap like that. Okay. I'm going to end up probably taking part of this video and editing it into my video that's coming. I'm working on a video putting this thing in. And so I'll be putting this section into it. Oh, I can't even get my brain screwed in right. Let's see what all these comments are going on. Holy crap. Okay. Oh, son, we have a lot going on in the chat over here. Everybody's here. Cornut says, how could you? Kidding, of course. Happy wife, happy life. Yes. Speaking of, my wife's in bed. Uh, Fortunately, she sleeps pretty solid, so I can make quite a bit of noise in here without disturbing her. But and that drill, this thing here is one of those, the impactors. It does the little when you screw it, so it's loud, but it'll get a screw in there. Case in point, that thing went up, and that was a 3.5 inch screw that I ran into that stud. It's grabbed hold real good. Play it, live it. Said, "What's up? What's up? What's up, man?" W wants to know how many explodes we're installing. The video with my wife troubleshooting the sixth order box is so hilarious. Dude, I'm gonna tell you, that is our everyday. That's I just happened to record. I happened to record that. Um, that's how it's every day here in this household. We just we just believe in love, enjoying each other, tolerance. You know, all those things. It's a very calm household. Um, and we've been together for 20, going on 25 years now. And I don't believe I've ever shouted at her anywhere near my full angry voice. We've had a couple of spats over the years, but I literally mean a couple. I don't think we've ever had a shouting match ever in my entire time we've been together. Not that we don't disagree, but we just talk about it and don't shout about it. Never had that kind of relationship. Uh, let's see here. Joseph said, "Look sweet. Thank you." Fuego pops in. Bobby B sent me. He said, "Don't forget the drill." Oh, I got it right there. I just showed it to you. I got it. It's right here. You can't be Hayanka and off. Don't be Hayanka and off in there. We Hayanka off all the time, man. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see here. Emmett, what's up, Emmett? Nice to see you. Nice to have you join us. What's up? Uh, so, oh, goodness gracious. Emmett, Emmett said, "Hell yeah, let's buy some tacos, baby."
Crushing on these tacos, we buy the fiesta. Guac on the side, man, you know it's the best. Lettuce and salsa, stack it high, make it pop. Crunch in my mouth, can't stop, won't drop. Slim and scissor in, flavors cold and so sweet. After one taco, I'm in for a repeat. Bite after bite, got me dancing in my seat. Hitting up the taqueria, can't face defeat. Taco love in every single bite. Feeling good, every feast all night.
Thanks for the tacos, Emmett. Just gifted a whole bunch of memberships to you guys. That's awesome. Taco time, El Fuego says. Hell yeah, man. Um, let's see if Emmett had. Nope, he didn't have anything to ask. Well, I appreciate you, my friend. And I'm sure there's 10 people in there that'll appreciate you too, getting a little bonus action going on. So, and I need memberships. Memberships are cool. Um, so, what do you guys think about that position? Give me a judgment call. Let me get into my normal spot here. It really needs to go to that way. I mean, that way. I can't even. My brain's not. It needs to go that way, don't it? Like about 3 inches that way. But it can. If it does, it'll expose the black. Uh, I appreciate you very much, Emmett. Um, my wife and I this last month have been eating off of YouTube. So what you guys do, I'm gonna tell you, man. What you guys donate and the ad revenue that I get from the channel and the money that I make off commissions from sales, all those things to combine together, um, the last couple of months have bought groceries and stuff, kept us fed in this house. So I appreciate y'all. You don't know how much, man. This would not and could not work without you guys. It just couldn't work. I would still be putting out videos, but but we would be very, very hungry. My wife has been working 2 jobs for the last couple of years now because I had to get out of the truck with the medical problems. And so she's been working her normal day job plus going to work at night for a few hours every night cleaning an office building. And this last few months, she's had trouble with that. She's not been feeling well, and she hadn't been able to go work every night, and so that second job is getting to be too much of a hassle for her. So the only way I can keep her from having to do that is if this makes money, right? So I stay at it hard and heavy. You guys know I'm constantly releasing something. It may not always be strictly car audio content, but I think it's interesting anyway. You know, it is good what it is. A Fuego, what's a Fuego talking about? Those little Slapz 4-channel amps are only $100. You're damn right, dude. That little guy behind me back there. I'm gonna tell y'all about that little mini, dude. This is no shit. I don't care what kind of equipment you buy or how you run your system or what kind of music you do. That little 4-channel amp is an absolute monster. It's super clean. It's got lots of power. It makes every bit of the power that it says it does, and then some. It's got great dynamic response to it. It's a really, really, really good amplifier for $100, guys. I mean, shit. You know, it fits. It's that big. Look, it's that big. You know, and there's nothing that you couldn't power with that. Hell, you could run 4 subwoofers on that. Not high powered in any means, but at 160 watts, you could absolutely run 4 subwoofers off of that little amp. That little amp is a beast, man. It's an absolute monster. If you guys are looking for something budget friendly to do whatever with, like however you want to set your system up, whatever you're trying to do, that's the amplifier. No shit. $100 after my discount. So jump on that. You will not be displeased with that little amplifier. Oh yeah, thank you. 0.2 to 6 volts. 0.2 to 6 volts. 0.2 to 6 volts. The little the amp's input. I'm not sure. I can tell you though, because I always have this page over here running. So that little dude, I just happen to have that amp pulled up on the page, and that its input sensitivity is 0.3 to 6. 0.01% total harmonic distortion. You know, I mean, what do you want? It weighs less than 3 pounds. Guys, motorcycles, glove box, 4-wheelers, whatever. The thing is tiny. Now, it's not marine rated, but you know. So at 4 ohms, it does 100 watts per channel at 4 ohms. And it does 160 watts per channel at 2 ohms. And I can tell you right now, I had it on 8 ohm speakers. 4 8-ohm speakers, and it was it was disco nightclub loud. I mean, it got down on 4 8-ohm drivers, and that should have been what, 50 watts a channel. Yeah, it's pretty incredible little piece of kit, man, especially for that price. $110, man, and $100 with the discount. Use CAE. It's freaking bonkers. Yeah, dude. He said that's a gem compared to other small amp sensitivity. That's not even all of it, though. I mean, like, look, normally when you're talking about a budget piece of gear, there's always this is what you get for this amount of money, but you have to give up this and this and this. Like, this may not be as good, this may not be as good, and this may not be as good. But you can go down that checklist running one of these things. You can go down that checklist, check off things that you think are up to par. And there's nothing that you have to check the negative box to. There's not any negative checks. The only thing you could possibly say is that the name isn't that well known yet. That's it. Everything else is 100% giving it. Oh, that'd be fun. Let's talk about this crazy thing. What's up, man? Welcome to the channel and welcome to chat. Born Joker. So I saw a video last night. A guy built an 8-foot by 8-foot concrete bass horn in his living room. Dude, I could straight up eat some lasagna with that guy. Because we would just kick it, man. We'd be eating the lasagna and talking all kinds of stuff. Where the hell is my... There it is. I need some caffeine. Oh, that's going to improve things a lot. So, concrete. Okay. So the enemy of subwoofers, speakers of any kind, is allowing the back resonance to meet the front resonance. Now, while an enclosure will stop that, we all know that there's some degree of vibration that happens in that enclosure. And when the enclosure vibrates, that's sound wave that's passing through the enclosure and interacting with the sound wave in the front. It's a secondhand sine wave. So that sine wave is hitting the enclosure and it's not getting out. The air isn't escaping, but it's vibrating the enclosure and then continuing on outwards. Same way thermodynamics work, actually. Like exactly the same way thermodynamics work. So the response to that is creating an enclosure that does not vibrate at all. Well, you need a material that has zero flexibility. Okay, metal has flexibility. Even that 1/4-inch steel has flexibility. And the way you know is if you hit it and it rings, clink, 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 clank, 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 that's a noise that's created. That's the frequency it's vibrating at. That means it does move. The only thing that doesn't have flexibility, or if it doesn't have any flexibility and you hit it, it just goes click. It's just, this. There's no ring. There's no nothing. Just, okay. Concrete is that. Concrete works really well for that. The downside to concrete is, well, it's heavy. It's really heavy. And it also can bust. And yeah, a subwoofer could theoretically bust concrete. So it's got to be fairly thick, which means you take a heavy substance and then you also have a substance you have to make really thick. It's even heavier. So it's not ideal for car audio, although it has been used in car audio because there are insane people out there, which I totally get down with. In a home audio situation, though, there's nothing to stop it. In fact, if I was going to build a house, I'd pour a concrete foundation with fiber-filled concrete, and I would metal stud frame the whole house. And I like sheetrock because it lasts for a long time. It's easy to replace and it's good for acoustics. So I would sheetrock the interior and cypress or polyboard and then cypress and then blow insulation in the walls. But when you're pouring the concrete, you take and set you down in there a form to pour around. So you create a hole in the concrete, a depression. That's the right size for the average subwoofer, single 10 or a 12. And you build the house, and in the floor, that concrete, you want to have like a recess. So you want the recess for the driver to play into. Then you want like a rabbited shelf that comes over maybe 2 or 3 inches. Remember, fiber fill concrete. That's important because fiber fill won't chip and bust. And they're going to create some edges that could be chipped later. That fiber fill won't do that. And you don't have to put rebar in fiber fill. A lot of people do, but you don't have to. Anyway, you create that little shelf. That way you can build your baffle, sit down in there with your sub in it, bolt it down into that concrete. I would set up a couple of those in the living room, probably one in, I don't know if I'd do the whole house, but I would definitely do the living room. And you want them over in the corner so they can corner load and you can really get them lows. So I'd go over to the corner of the rooms and maybe do one in each of the 4 corners of the living room. Even if you don't use them right away. And think about it, if you don't use it for a subwoofer, it's a safe. You could pull it up and put stuff in there and close that thing up under the carpet. No one would ever know it was there, ever, in a million years. So it's a safe, right? And but yeah, that's the kind of thing I want to do if I ever build a house. I want to, and I all these materials. I did construction work for 20 years. I know a little bit about construction, so I'm being very specific on the materials. Metal frame, metal framing. Mice don't eat metal framing. It doesn't rot. It doesn't age. It's how you build a house. You want something that's going to stand there forever. And even if you get water in there, you're never going to have to worry about it rotting or mice eating it or anything like that. And if you look at what I'm talking about, concrete foundation, metal frame walls, sheetrock, all of these things are non-decayable. They're not stuff that bugs eat. Termites don't eat this stuff. So, and also doesn't burn. So even if you have a fire break out in the house, odds are it's going to stay in one spot and be able to be put out. The whole house isn't going to go up. All of these things are reasons why I would use these particular materials over anything else. Let's see what's going on here. Joseph said maybe going to 4 of the SmackDown 15s in a few months, especially if I blow 1 or more this weekend at the show here in Kentucky. Sad my son is not going. He had a continuation there, but I don't see where he continued. But the wife is. Oh, the wife is. I got you. All right. Well, that's cool. Sorry the son isn't going, though. I mean, he'd love to see that. If you're going to blow a sub, he needs to be there to experience that. That's like a rite to passage to manhood. Use that amp as a 3-channel, 100 mids, and a 320 on the sub. Yeah, you can do that. It has that capability, sure. And I would not be afraid at all to run a subwoofer off that amplifier. Like I said, if there's a way to blow up an amplifier, I've given it all to all of these things. And guys, I have got a lot of Slapz gear, and I have not had one single piece of gear of any kind fail to work perfectly at all with any of the gear from Slapz. Not a tweeter, not a mid, not an amp, nothing. I can't say that it's all amazing. I can just say that I have a 100% success rate in it. So, yeah, excellent call, Fuego. And that's a tiny little amplifier that you can put like in a console. You can put that underneath your console. Man, you can put it under the seat. You know, Born Joker said, let's see here. Oh yeah, you're talking about that big old speaker. Not something you can really use in a vehicle, unfortunately. Maybe if you mixed in fiberglass and used a truck with a really heavy duty hauling capacity. No, it becomes undrivable. It'll roll, but it becomes undrivable. It's just too much weight. That said, there are other materials you can use besides fiberglass. I mean, besides concrete. Concrete is just extremely inexpensive and extremely good at that. It's just the fact that it's extremely heavy. Uh, see, we're still talking about it. He built the long tapered channel. It's like 10 foot or longer underneath the floor leading up to it. Craziest thing I've ever seen. Sounds like my kind of dude, man. I can hang out with this guy, no problem. Theoretically, you could install an 18 in the floor of a living room and create an IV setup. Ask, or can you? Asking for a friend. um, yes, but I would caution against it because of the way houses are built. Um, the floor has a lot of um, shear strength. In a conventional floor, a conventional wood floor has a lot of shear strength, but it's also quite flexible. And if you've ever walked across it or jumped up and down, you can hear the whole house kind of shimmy. And that's because that whole floor is carried from one side of the foundation to the other, and it's got a lot of bounce to it. It's not something that you would notice normally. I mean, it's not going to affect normal life, but putting a low frequency driver in the floor and using it as an infinite baffle would absolutely cause it to be noticeable. What works better is the attic, the roof. Uh, Number one, it gives you a lot better ways to run cabling. And it keeps the drivers from being in the elements outside. You're using the attic space as the infinite baffle or the chamber. And that also kind of keeps the sound from getting quite as carried away, leaving your house to your neighbors' houses and stuff. So the ceiling is really ideal. You get up there and you have to build in a baffle between the ceiling joist. It builds you a baffle because you got 16 inches center on center. So you got like there's room for a 15 to fit in there. All right. And so you just build in a baffle that's thick enough to fall in between those two ceiling joists, cut it out, wire it and everything, drop it in place, come in from the sides and screw it. You don't really want to glue it because you might want to pull it out, and you won't really need to glue it, but you do need to screw it to the ceiling joist. And then cut your drywall out inside, create a grill up there for it. Yeah, a ceiling infinite baffle would be awesome. Um, I guess it would also depend on what you have for ceiling material. Sheetrock works well. It doesn't have it's not going to vibrate in any frequency that would be high enough to cause issues. Uh, the sheetrock is essentially acoustically dead, meaning it doesn't really have a resonance, kind of like concrete. Okay. So even though it may not be as strong as you think it would need to be, the fact that it will not vibrate means that it won't build up a resonance. And it should be totally fine. It should resist because there's not going to be any real pressure on it. There'll just be a constant attempt to make it vibrate, but it's not going to resonate, so it should be fine. You said, I think I attached the driver like you see in some really high-end bills. Gotcha. No, you don't need a lot of watts. Oh, let's see here. What Play It and Live It's talking about. When you're planning when you planning the next build is the starting of the winter. The next build is a point of contingence right now. I'm a contention. That's the word I'm looking for. Um, I don't have any visual aids. You guys saw, if you guys watched my video on the box designing, I was working on some preliminary designs. 80 square inches of port area, 48 by 44 baffle area, one down about 15 inches in the bottom chamber, and 16 or more on the top chamber. Whatever's left, it'll be actually more than that probably. It's up to like 33 is as high as I can go, building it as a slide in. But I'm going to have two plans, and I ain't decided on which one I'm going to play yet. So, well, actually, there's three. The contingency plan, the fallback plan, is leaving the setup the way it is and pulling the subs out and going in there and fiberglass in the interior and rebracing everything, doubling up on the bracing inside, making it really, really strong, and doing all that, and then resubbing it. That's my fallback plan. The other plan is to do 4, probably 6, maybe 15s, and a 4th or 6th order. And of those, that wide variety, probably looking at most likely a 4th, or not a 4th, but a 6th, and a slide in. That said, if I decide to tear out and go that direction, when I get it tore out, I may look at it and stare at it and just decide to do a build-in box. If I do that, it might be getting 6 15s. I don't know yet. It all depends on how I feel. When am I planning on starting was the actual question. It'll be sometime after the last show for the season. I don't know what that is. Probably September, November-ish. And I'd like to be done with at least the bulk of it before, like, the end of January, when it starts to really get freaking cold. I'd like to be down to just touch up kind of small stuff at that point. I'd like to have the bulk of it done. So I've got possibly half of November, December, and January, 2.5 months. We'll call it 2 months of build time. That may be a lot for some people, but that's a yeah, I'm tired. I'm an old, tired, broken individual. What's up, Jay Shipes? JP Merrick, what's up? Oh, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. You're back. The new Orion NT200 is amazing. Not familiar with that. I've had good luck with Orion in the past. Let's check it out here. Get a sneak peek at what he's talking about. Oh, that's the old one, though. Wait a minute. Okay. No. Oh, goodness. No, I don't need you to play. You hush. That's cool. I'm looking at the NT100 digital monoblock. Yeah, it's wicked. It looks a lot like the US amp, the modern ones, and it retails for a little over $2,000. That's the 100. So yeah, I would say looks pretty cool, but a lot of bucks. We're glad you could join the show, man. One joker said you might want to seal in double thick drywall if you're going to do that. Yeah, you could. I would. I'd be doing a double thick anyway. I like. So when I was doing drywall construction, we did drywall for most of the time, and doing that, we built a lot of churches, and the churches required firewalls. You had to have uh, a 30-minute firewall in Mississippi, which means you had to have, I forget the exact way they measured it, but you had to basically have a fire on one side of the wall, but nothing coming into the next room for 30 minutes. And to create the firewall, a 30-minute firewall, you had to do some stuff. So what we did was 2 layers of drywall on both sides. You went metal stud frame. You had a fire door, a fire rated door, which is an insulated metal external door. Uh, and it's got to have seals on the top and bottom. It's got to seal up because if it doesn't, fire will get through and smoke. Um, and then on the drywall, the way you do it is you put your first layer of drywall on, you screw it off, you spot the nails, you tape it off, and then you tape it off, clean it up, and then you hang another layer on top of that, moving the joints so they have a different location. None of the joints line up. And this time you screw it, you glue it. We used F26 is what we used. But you run a wiggly bead of glue, you put the drywall on there, then you screw it off again and tape it and finish it out. And once you do 2 layers, we used green board. So once you do 2 layers of 5/8 water board or green board, both of them taped, the joints all cut offset from each other. That will, with a metal, you got to have that metal interior wall, because if it's wood in between there, the fire can heat up the screws and will go through the drywall and heat up the wood and catch the wood on fire inside the wall. So ideally, you want to take the screws out, but if you use metal stud framing, the metal stud inside will absorb the heat plenty good enough to keep it from getting inside, and so you can leave the screws, the second layer screws in. But yeah, that's how we did it. And you always want to glue it, because if you don't, the reason you glue it is because as the fire gets hot on the one side of the drywall, it heats up the metal screws in the paper, and then the paper will burn around those screws, and then the drywall will just fall off the wall. But if you've glued it behind it, it'll stay put. So this is when the fire is directly on the drywall. This is a hot side of the room. And if you don't have it glued, though, when those screws get really hot from the fire, they'll burn the paper, and then the drywall will just fall off. That's what the glue's for. But yeah, we did all kinds of cool stuff back in the day, man. I got a lot of skills. Let's see here. Oh, Jay Shipes. Have you seen that $30 million room that Bill Gates built that absorbs all sound? An anechoic chamber, so they call that. Anechoic meaning it does not echo. That's what the sound absorption is about. Those things are expensive, and it's hard to do. Basically, everything has to be soft and everything has to be angled. You essentially build the inverse. You build an internal room that has the same exact properties as the external part of a stealth bomber. Okay. You essentially create the external part of a stealth bomber as the internal part of the room. So you want all waves that hit that to either not come back to your ear or not go anywhere. That's how that works. No, it's pretty cool. Anechoic chambers are really trippy, man. And not hearing any echo is a strange sensation. Even when you're outside, which is when you're going to get the best, like in a big, huge, wide open field, grassy field, you're going to get a really good non-echo situation, but you're still going to pick up trace echoes. When you're in an anechoic chamber, you're so deprived of sound coming back to your ear that you can hear the blood moving through your veins. Not just your own heartbeat, but you can hear the blood squirt. And after a little while, it'll start to make you kind of crazy because it's persist. You can't make it stop. It just keeps doing that. It's like a clock that's ticking in the background or a faucet that's dripping. It'll start to drive you nuts. Very cool though. Yeah, right. That's the thing. Yeah. What do you win? You win probably insanity. Uh, take a nap. Jay said you'll go crazy. Yeah, no doubt, dude. Um, what's up, JP Merritt? My partial amp inventory of what I own and use daily in rotation: two Audio Wave Aspire Pro monoblocks, two Audio Wave XA30 monoblocks, a Genesis P15 Quantity 2, Abyss 501A monoblock, and whatever that word is, MA 1502. I don't know that one, but it sounds like you have a nice collection. Though I got to tell you, I'm not familiar with most of that, but it sounds like a nice collection. JP said, I wish we could discuss amps and speakers one day. I'm all about it, man. We discuss amps and speakers a lot, actually, but it's kind of hit and miss. It's all new in Arizona. Oh man, nice. Yeah, JP said that you said they remade that amp. Yeah, it looks a lot like the old Orion stuff. So I've been running. I had real good luck with the XTR amps that they have. I can speak on the XTR amps for the price. Man, they are some ballsy amplifiers. Um, yeah, I agree, El Fuego. Uh, Point Joker. I don't know if Orion is good. You, yeah, they did, man. JP said it is also all new school. Damn it, son. Uh, El Fuego can jump in there with you. He's kind of got a little bit of a habit too. Uh, let's see here. Yeah, doubling up sheetrock sure does make it better. Yeah, like I said, if you to make that fireproof though, you have to add that layer of F26 in between. We tried liquid nails and didn't like it. F26 is what we always use. Now I don't know if there's other stuff now that's better, but we built one. It was a restaurant. It was a big restaurant, and we cut it in half and turned it into two separate properties. The guy that bought it wanted to split it up and rent out the two halves. One half turned into a restaurant again. The other half turned into a nightclub. And the nightclub side was fine, but the restaurant side ended up catching on fire. Now, this is one building with a dividing wall, and it was a firewall that we built in there. And tell you how good this worked. None of us expected it to work as well as it did. But this is how crazy it was. The nightclub was open when the restaurant caught on fire, and people in the nightclub weren't even aware that the restaurant was on fire. By the end of maybe 2 or 3 hours, the fire department was there and everything. The restaurant, the floor was gone. The ceiling was gone. The floor was gone. The equipment was on the ground. what was hard and metal and wouldn't burn was on the ground below where the floor was. The nightclub side still looked normal. It had the tiniest bit of smoke damage had come in up at the roof and the ceiling, not much. We were able to go in there and touch up some paint, and they could have opened that thing up and had a fully open that next day. And the other place was totally gutted. And neither one of us, we were all amazed when we got there. We figured the whole thing would be gone. We were just hoping that firewall would allow time for them to evacuate, right? That's the whole point. They didn't even know what happened. It was like it had been burning for like an hour. People were still in there. They were still in there trying to get people out of there. And they were like, they're not even paying because they didn't even know. There's no heat, there's no fire, there's no smoke. And then there's people running up to you telling you the place is on fire. You're drunk, you're partying, You're like, man, get out of here, man. So that's how that went down. They finally did, but it took them like an hour to get everybody out. It worked way better than we thought it was going to work. So I was impressed. Let's see here. They resurrected. It's all new school. Noise canceling. Yeah. And you're still going to get echoes in a room with drywall. And you can get some sound through it. But drywall is pretty damn good at stopping sound. If you're getting sound leaking into a room in a drywall house, it's usually coming in through the door. If you can insulate that door a little bit, you'll block so much sound. Because it can't, like I said, it's simple. The sound wave can't get through because it's air, right? And it can't vibrate the material and then make that create a sound because it's non-vibratable. And so it stops the sound. Just that simple. If it gets in, it's coming around somewhere else. An audio wave 30X, more. Well, it's got, I don't know. That sounds expensive. You're expensive. I love it. You're expensive. JP, he's thinking about some really high end stuff, man. El Fuego, I'm running at least 4 old school Orion amps in my next build, including the 2250 XTR, the old one, the Beast. Yeah, damn right, man. Let's see here. We did some Walgreens. They did like that. You can't punch through it. It's so damn strong. Yeah, absolutely. Make you go insane, Jay says. Yeah. Let's see here. Every environment has a sound. When they're filming scenes for a movie, they record 1 minute of that sound with everything else silent, added as an ambient background to the scene. Yeah. The funny thing is, that's how noise canceling works. It samples the noise in the background, and then it samples it in real time, plays it back into your ear in reverse. So it takes the sound, that ambient sound, flips the frequency so that it's opposing each other and plays it back into your ear. And that's what's causing the noise canceling when you're listening to noise canceling headphones is the inverse of the sound, the bass sound floor flipped and played back into your ear. That's what stops all that sound. That's how that works. And then similarly, it works in recording as well. Similarly, slightly different technique, but the same basic concept. But yeah, in movies, they take a sample. They want to get that. They want to get that sound. You got the grass growing. You got the wind, the breeze, the bugs. I'd love to work on the audio for a movie. I've never done that. I've worked on audio for shows, live shows, a little bit. Worked in lighting for live shows a little bit. Did a whole lot of set dressing and a whole lot of set building and set maintenance for some different illusionists and magic shows and stuff. but I've never got to work on a live production. I mean, on a movie style or a TV style production. So that's something I wished I could get some of that knowledge. I would love to. You'd think, but you'd miss those three kids, my friend. You'd miss that noise. If one goes, my brain sounded like that. Sounds like that room most days. No kidding. Um, but yeah. So, if you guys ever want to see one of the buildings, the big ones that I worked in and built, if you look up West Helena, Arkansas, and look up, I can't remember the name of that church, but it's a big church in West Helena, Arkansas, and it's shaped like a I believe it's like an octagon shape. We did everything on the inside of that church, literally everything. When we got there, it was a metal roof and metal walls and a concrete foundation. Uh, we built the entire interior of that church. And I'll tell you guys, at once, when we first started, we had 4 semi trucks parked inside the sanctuary. The whole truck in the sanctuary, 4 of them full of sheetrock, and we ended up getting 2 more semi trucks full of sheetrock to finish that church. But we started out, we had 4 trucks parked in the sanctuary. Give you an idea how big this church is. It's huge. But we worked for a company called Church Builders for a while, and we built several churches, and that was the biggest one. And there's a whole lot of stories about that crazy ass church. That church scared the shit out of me. Working up in the top of it, over the cathedral, over the sanctuary. Man, that vertigo. I'm not terribly afraid of heights, but I was scared shitless up there the whole time I was up there. Because I was looking straight down, way down there. And not only does the ceiling slope up and the roof slope up, but the floor slopes down. So where I was at on the very top was looking way down, and what essentially would be like a 5 or 6 foot deep swimming pool down there. This thing had the audio gear in it. So from where the pulpit was and the stage, they had 2 trenches that was in the concrete. The trenches were like a foot wide and 2 foot deep. And those trenches, both of those 2 trenches, were completely full of audio cables running back to the mixing room where they mixed it, because they ran on cable broadcast from there. They had, it was crazy, dude. This was one of those churches that you see on TV, that kind of a church. Let's see here. Really, really cool. But if you look up West Helena, Arkansas churches, big, and you look for the one that's octagon shaped with a big old tall steeple right in the middle, kind of symmetrical all the way around, with a little part that sticks out in the front with a little dome over the top of the path as you walk in, that's it. Let's see here. Tinnitus. Oh man, sorry to hear that. All you hear is tinnitus. 30 feet, yeah, I think it was much higher than that. But it scared the crap out of me. Because all I was standing on, because you got these green, the building is framed with these green beams. It runs up and then toward the middle, and at the very top, there's a stop sign shaped piece that all those beams connect to. Well, outside of that stop sign shaped piece, which is maybe 2 or 3 feet across, is just the beams running out, right? For some stupid reason, and I still didn't nobody know why they did this, but they stopped the roof. They're supposed to carry the roof up to a peak and cap it, have a sealed roof. They stopped the roof where the steeple was going to sit. So the steeple, being a completely fiberglass structure that's not watertight at all, right? It's meant to be ornamental. And it was an octagon shaped steeple that sat there that goes up and does the whole cross and all that stuff. The steeple was like maybe 20 feet tall from the base of it to the peak. Well, they were supposed to build the roof up under and then have it all sealed off and then put the steeple on top of that. For some stupid reason, they built the roof up to the point to where the steeple would overlap it and then left the hole in there. Well, it didn't take long to figure out that there was rain coming in this damn steeple. And there was also wasp nest, a whole bunch of yellow jackets up in that steeple. Me and Chris Vandestieg had to go up there toward the end of this job. They still didn't have the ceiling in yet, and the sanctuary, but everything else was pretty much finished. We had to go up there with like 5 or 6 big old boxes full of caulk and drag an A-frame ladder up there, take the little panel off the side, shove this A-frame ladder up in there, set it up like halfway on those green beams coming down. The legs were on like a 3-inch wide little thing on 4 different spots. I'm looking down, way down, at people walking around that are about that tall, going up on top of this A-frame with my face in a swarm of yellow jackets with a caulk gun. And it's like 100 million degrees up in there. I got the caulk fumes piling up in there, so we're high as a kite on caulk fumes. Got yellow jackets landing on my damn head, and I'm standing on an A-frame ladder up above this huge... Yeah, I'll never forget that. That day left an indelible mark in my soul, I tell you. But I caulked the crap out of that damn steeple. I filled out all the cracks, Bobby. If Bobby's on. I filled all the cracks. But that right there was a nerve-wracking experience. I had Chris down there holding the ladder to keep it from moving, because if it moved anywhere at all, the foot would slide off that beam and shit would go down. And me being the shit. Okay? It scares me just thinking about it again. God, dude, that was horrible. Emmett said a church building company called Church Builders, right? I know, it was so original. And they were a bunch of assholes too. That's the other thing. They were rough to work for. Our company, they subcontracted to us, and our company did all the work, but getting paid was a real bitch. And they kept coming back in there wanting to change this and change that. And there was so much expensive ass wood that went inside that building. So much. So much. It was beautiful. I mean, it really was. We did a good job. The place looked amazing. That roof, though, that was just terrible. So the water funneled right straight in there. No, it actually mostly ran off the thing and ran down on the roof. But where the sections of that steeple connected together, they had like a curve like this and then a straight down part that would fit into another part. And then there were screws holding those two pieces together. There was like 2 or 3 of those joints. The cross on the very, very, very top with a base about that big around that goes, it had the cross itself fit down into the top part of that. So it was a separate part. And water would run down it and then sneak in those cracks and run down this part, sneak in those cracks. And it was just dripping down there. And we had to climb in there and a lot of caulk, man. So much caulk. And it was so hot. And I was so high. And those wasps, dude. That was just an absolute train wreck of an experience. It was something else. W says, sounds like a bunch of cogs. Yeah, no doubt. Um, y'all can't see nothing, man. Y'all kind of can see. Let's see here. Uh, so, yeah, you see my little connection box right here. I got some more work to do. I think these cables are going to be long enough, though. I got a positive and a ground here, and I got my batteries figured out in there. Yeah, I think these cables are going to be long enough, and the batteries are going to sit right down over here to the side. I got to keep in mind that I got to be able to get in and out of here, so I need this space back here. I don't need anything directly behind me because there's not a lot of room where this is set up at. Uh, but yeah, that's how it was supposed to go, man. They were supposed to build that green roof all the way up. I say green. I can't remember for sure if it was. I know the framing was green. They were supposed to build that metal roof. It was a nice roof, by the way. It was a thick 100-year roof. They're supposed to build it all the way up and put a cap on it, and it would have been sealed, and then set the steeple on top of that as ornamentation. And I don't know why in the hell they decided they needed to make it part of the roof. It was never intended to be structural. And we tried to get them to come back down there and redo that. It was like we spent a month trying to get them to come down there and redo that. And then whenever they were in there messing around with their first little event, and it came a rain and it was leaking all through there and falling. Oh, them people that just had that multi-million-dollar church built were losing their rabbit ass minds. So that's when we got us flunkies, the young guys in the crew, got elected to go spelunking in that damn steeple. Oh, yeah, that was sketch, dude. Um, no, no, that's not correct. If you hook up a lithium battery to an alternator, it makes the alternator run full out and can burn up very quickly if the car's idling. I can 1,000,000% tell you that's false. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's 100% false. I I can tell you this because I've got a 370 amp alternator charging a lithium battery at idle for hours at a time while I'm demoing. Hours. When I go to an event, I usually pull in there with my Tahoe running at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it will not be shut off until 4 o'clock that afternoon. It will sit there and idle the entire day. Demoing or not, I don't ever shut it off because it has the AC running and I get in there and cool off. So, yeah, I can 100% say that will not happen at all. And I've also run the same setup with an AGM and a lithium together, and it didn't have any problems either. I've also run two alternators charging both the lithium and AGM together, and didn't have any problem with that either. There's no configuration that causes that problem. If your alternator burns up, it's because there's a big ass problem somewhere. Like you've internally shorted your lithium battery is internally shorted. In that case, yeah, that could burn up an alternator, but it's probably going to burn up the wires before it burns up the alternator. They're pretty tough. So sorry, man, but whoever told you that, it's not true. Not at all. Not even remotely true. Uh, Mine is a 370 amp alternator. It's not factory. But that said, The only thing that's really different is the fact that it's charging at a higher amperage. Uh, but that's still not a thing because there's a bunch of people out there that run lithium and charge off factory batteries, factory alternators, and they do the same thing I do. That's not an issue. That's not a thing. If it's happened, it wasn't because of that setup. It was because something was broken. All right. Something else was broken. Yeah, that's 100% correct. Uh, you see it right here. Trunk under lithium. Use discount code CAE10. And you can do the stupid shit that I just said without having to worry about anything burning up. Because that's what I'm using. This trunk under lithium. I'm using the old battery. There's a better one out there now. We got the 10K version 3. And he's got a whole lot more parts coming in, so there's going to be plenty of stuff, plenty of them available. Trunked under lithium, baby. Thanks for the shout out, El Fuego. You the man. Opinion? Yeah. Yeah, like I said, my opinion is that something was broken. If you got a internally shorted battery of some kind, or a short somewhere between the alternator, like a power cable is shortened to ground somewhere, uh, that could definitely burn up an alternator. But if you've got enough power cables to be able to handle the amount of a dead short heat of a dead short, after a while and there's no fuses, the alternator would go. But and that would be my, yeah. That's about the only thing really I can think of. It's either the battery is either internally shorted or you've got a dead short on the power cable that's dead short in the ground somewhere, and you've got some serious power cables and no fusing between the alternator and the dead short. All of that stuff has to be there. Yeah, but that doesn't affect anything. And W said the float's higher. Yeah, that just means that the lithium's going to come into play at a higher voltage, which is why it's better. Well, one of a bunch of reasons why. Is whenever you've got a standard AGM battery under the hood and you got your alternators and all that, it don't matter how big of an alternator you have or how high the voltage is in the alternator. When you're pulling power from that system, after you pull enough current to overwhelm the alternator, which is, a couple hundred amps or whatever the alternator is, then you're going to have to drop the voltage is going to have to drop down to like 12.7 or so before the AGM battery is even going to start trying to help. So you don't have any way to support that 14 volt alternator with an AGM. That you're going to run off the alternator, and then as soon as you get more amperage than the alternator can support, it's going to drop the voltage. It's going to drop down to that battery, and then you'll be running at that battery's voltage from that point forward. And of course, this is going to be happening up and down, which is why the voltage goes up and down. What you want is a system with a higher resting voltage on your energy storage at a higher resting voltage. That way, it will start to trying to help before the voltage drops down real low, because you want to keep your voltage higher, or else you pull more amps. It's a cascading problem. That's what lithium solves. One of the things that it solves. Emmett says, when your batteries are low, the alternator will run wide open. Well, that could happen. And that would burn up an alternator eventually, yes. If you're not able to, if you're working it too hard, you can overheat and just burn up an alternator from straight up heat. But something I have been experimenting with, and I'm going to experiment more with it. And you guys, be sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't, because there's videos coming up on this. I have a scientific theory And I have been wanting to test it, and now I have a way to test it. This little dude. This, by the way, is the Mufasa. It's Mufasa. Anyway, my theory is that a battery with higher internal resistance, like an AGM, will cause an alternator to get hot much quicker than a battery with low internal resistance, like lithium. And but I've got to do some experiments and some testing, which I can do. I've got a vehicle set up that's literally perfect for this test. I've got a 300 amp alternator that charges an AGM battery under the hood. And I've got a 370 amp alternator that charges a lithium battery, trunked under lithium 10K version 1. They're separate. They're on the same vehicle. They're located side by side. I can put them on the same circuit so they can both work together, or I can leave them totally separate so that they're charging their own independent thing. I do believe I can get some results out of that without having to change anything, because I have the configuration to be able to test this pretty good. So I'm looking forward to doing that. That's my hypothesis. That's not a confirmed thing. It's my theory. Higher resistance generates heat. That's the working theory that I have, that I'm going to test that in a video coming soon. Yeah. Could be why OEM dislikes lithium. I don't know if dislikes would be the word I would use, but maybe. They don't rest well together, because if you set, well, OEM, if I'm assuming you're talking about AGM. No, I see what you're saying. There's a couple of different things here. So AGM and lithium don't set at the same voltage, of course, which means that the lithium is always going to be trying to top off the AGM. And it's going to continue to do that until the lithium gets pulled down to where it's now lost enough charge to where it's setting at the same voltage as the AGM. And that's normally not a big deal, but with lithium, well, yes. With lithium, especially LTO4, the way it loses power is different from the way LTO cells and also AGM cells lose power. And sodium has the same thing. So most of these batteries, as the power gets drained out of the battery, the voltage slowly goes down. It's kind of like a ramp that goes straight down towards zero. Okay. But with LiPo4, lithium really in general, but especially LiPo4, it goes across like this, and it just holds that voltage and holds that voltage and holds it and holds it, and then it just does a nosedive. This works really good for car audio because your voltage never drops. Even if it's steady, that battery is getting drained hard, the voltage stays up. It's perfect. Like, you couldn't ask for a better scenario. But when it sucks for is stuff like cars, because it's hard to build a meter that can show you how much power you have left when the voltage is basically the same here as it is here. That's why it's hard to get that accurate mileage right for electric vehicles. Now, I brought that up because of this. If you consider the AGM battery sitting at 12.7 and your lithium battery sitting at 13.1, the lithium battery is steadily trying to put power into that AGM. And it's going to keep doing that. Remember how long this curve is? It's long. It's going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And it's going to finally stop whenever the voltage balances out. But at that point, you might be down to like 30% of that battery, because it's holding that voltage higher for so long as it's losing internal charge that by the time the voltage drops and balances out, there's not a whole lot left. It's pretty low. Uh, that said, you could figure maybe, an amp, a 1 amp an hour or something like that, maybe two, whatever. So if you're driving the thing on a daily basis, it's no big deal. That battery's got enough power that it's not even going to be below 90% the next day when you drive. You're never going to drop below 90%. It's just going to stay there, be fine. But if you're going to let it sit for, a couple months, you might want to disconnect that so that you're not having that battery get taxed all the way down to nothing. Now, what W was talking about is the OEM charging system, I think. And yes, it's expecting voltage to behave a certain way. And the model for that computer, the program for it, is designed expecting things to be a certain way. And so whenever things don't behave that way, then it assumes there's a problem. And even if the voltage is too high, it says, well, that's a problem. It's going to throw your battery light on, if it's not behaving the way it's expected, which is perfectly fine. That's what it's supposed to do. But you should be able to go into that computer and change some parameters and fix that so that it knows what it's looking for, or just ignore that light. Black tape. El Fuego is trying to run me off. Have a good one, El Fuego. Let's see here. Okay. It was stated based on an alternator being only 50% efficient, so the low efficiency would create more heat. Well, okay. I don't want to. Oh, yeah, factory alternator, W. I see that. I want to make sure I'm understanding what your statement is. It was stated based on an alternator being only 50% efficient. It goes along with everything, yes. So the low efficiency would create more heat. Well, efficiency is what's left of the work being done after you remove the heat. So that's like saying water is wet. But if it's 50% efficient, that means 50% of what it does turns into heat. So the less efficient it is, the more heat you're putting out, of course. Actually, the loss of mechanical work as thermal energy is where you get your efficiency number. And alternators are, well, terrible. I mean, everything about what's under the hood of a car is terribly inefficient and produces tons of heat. I got you, Fuego. But my theory is that a battery with lower internal resistance will cause less heat to generate in the alternator, given the same load. And I can reproduce that. I can reproduce that and run it as an experiment and check the temperatures. So we're going to be doing that. That's a plan that I had already. I'm also going to do a couple other things too. I might do it while I'm out there doing that. Crank up the system and see how hot them subwoofers get. See, kind of get some numbers and some figures and do some science. See, all science is goofing off, but writing it down. If you write it down, that's science. So, what do you guys think? I need some input on this. This is my next thing. Bourne said, guarantee the less resistance is less heat. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's my thoughts too. But just because I think it makes sense doesn't mean that it is a truth. I have to find out by experimenting. That's why I have a theory, not a fact. It's not a fact yet. It's just a theory. Uh, Input. I got to run speaker wires here, and I got to run subwoofer wires here. They're going to go down. What I'm mainly interested in is the location. Vanna White, the Vanna White location. And again, I only got one screw. There's one screw up here holding this thing up here. It's very stationary. I'll be putting more, but yeah. See, everything has to be set up in such a way that it works with my studio. So that's the whole point. Ideally, the better location for it's up here in front of me, but I want it to be on display. I thought about putting it over here, but I want to keep my Trunk Thunder Lithium up here, and I already got my subwoofer down there, and Boney Jeff is over here hanging out. So, and this will actually have some light coming off of it too. So it's going to light up this area over here a little bit. And I've got another light coming that's going to go over here in this other corner to shoot back that direction. So anyway, well, if you guys have any more questions, throw them out there, baby. I got more work to do. If you don't have, you know what's coming. Let's get the duck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Out here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Eyes are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slam going, go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice coils are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.